The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Today, we have a very special guest from Atmata, Rajesh, and he will discuss with us regarding how can we create a realistic images? How can we get our CAD into real photos? And instead of completing a prototype or finishing the final product and then go ahead and do a photo session, which is, again, it's more costly. And of course, you will not be able to get all alternatives like rendering. So I will not spend more time to explain about that. We will go ahead and move to Rajesh. So he will explain to us what does that mean, or how can we work with SOLIDWORKS visualize more in deep details. So Rajesh, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Motas. Okay, thank you. Thanks to one and all for joining this webinar, and see you. It's nice to see you again. So as you all know, I'm Rajesh. I take care of SolidWorks technical support and training, and I work for Atmata. Okay, so we are going to see in today's video, in today's demonstration, which has been focused on how users, SolidWorks users, can make use of your capabilities with Visualize. Okay, so as you all know, Visualize is for creating real-time images. So I just want to show you a look of how Visualize is with SolidWorks and what are the capabilities we have. So this is the first look of SolidWorks Visualize. So as designers create their designs, their components, their assemblies, as new designs come into creation, it is always needed to produce these designs as realistic images. So this creates an emotional look or an emotion with the customer and with you, with the designer. So in Visualize, we have a very vast library of materials which can be easily dragged and dropped into your model. And as you can see, as I drag and drop materials into my model, I'm able to create realistic images in real-time render on the screen. So all my settings related to the materials, related to scenes, and I have the options where I can capture different images of the camera. So how do you want your images to look? So it's just as easy as setting your camera and setting the orientation, your focus of interest of your model, of your designs, and just to capture these images as quick as possible in an integrated environment with SolidWorks Visualize. So this was what you saw here was the first look of SolidWorks Visualize. So another interesting animation what I have here was I picked it up from Maulinex. So this is a very good Visualize assembly of an exploded view. It's an animation where you can create very good animations with SolidWorks Visualize. So it's more of realistic, and this is another component where you can see the assembly procedure. So how my assembly is assembled. So I can see internal components, and you can see here they have real-time, the realistic images or the materials which have been applied onto the components. So just to give an idea of what Visualize is. Okay, before I could proceed with this, I would like to know how many of you are using SolidWorks Visualize. Are you using SolidWorks Visualize? Okay, yes or no? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the poll, and I want you to answer the question. So you have the poll. I'll give you some time, and please answer the questions. So yeah, I've got around 20% answered. I'm waiting for you. The rest 80%. Please click it. I'll wait for some time. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this.
So if any user, by the way, is using other tool than SolidWorks Visualize, then also he can answer. So just consider SolidWorks Visualize as a generic render tool, right, Rajesh?
Yes.
Can you do that?
Do you use, or is there a need for Visualize? Even you also can answer yes. It's not necessary that you have to use Visualize. Is there a need? Okay, so I believe around 50% I've answered my questions. So it's good to see that there are around so 43 of the audience. I see 43% having using Visualize. So you have a need for Visualize. Okay, so thank you for your time and for the poll. So let's proceed with this. So what is SolidWorks Visualize? So Visualize is actually an experience, or it's a product of BunkSpeed. So BunkSpeed has an experience over a decade's experience, and this company is based in the US. And you see, they cater to a lot of major giants, manufacturing giants like Audi, Cartier, Dell, Ford Company. So you can just imagine. So I'm just giving you an idea of what Visualize is. So the experience gathered from all these industries have been put into SolidWorks, have been collaborated into SolidWorks, and which are available for our customers. So with SolidWorks Visualize. Now, what is SolidWorks? SolidWorks Visualize is nothing but it's the camera for your CAD data. Okay, so as you keep designing products, as you keep as the design keeps going on parallelly, you will have to give the look to the product. So like they say, like anything is chosen with the look. So if you have a good look, a great look to your product, it's good for, it helps you for marketing your product and having a good imagination how your product will look, creates an emotion with your customers, and it gives you a very good experience on your product. So with Visualize, you can create professional quality images, you can create your animations, you can do interactive web content, and also you can use your models with virtual reality. So this enables designers, creatives, engineers, content creators, graphic designers, and all this to have an enhanced 3D experience. And Visualize is fast. You can do it very fast. It's very easy and it is fun. Okay, so with Visualize, what can I do? So I can create photo quality still images, realistic images. I can create interior panoramas. I can have a one-click 360-degree spin. It's a turntable. And then I can use it for a VR to visualize it in a VR. And also I can have featured animations. So I can capture featured animations, like as my product rotates, how is the ray trace? How is the lighting? How is the lighting being distributed? So how is the ray tracing going on my product? So this are some of the capabilities which Visualize have. So how do I start? So this demonstration of what I'm showing you today, this webinar, is also for you to get started, and it's not just for just seeing the capabilities, but I would suggest or advise you on getting started with your SolidWorks Visualize. So how do we start with SolidWorks Visualize? So we are going to see here 5 basic steps to start with SolidWorks Visualize. So first, you're going to import your CAD model. You're going to apply some paint onto it, and then you're going to put it into a scene. You're going to create your scene and capture your camera views, and then you're going to render this model. So what we see here in this image, I see a model, I see a background. There's a lighting effect, so always the lighting of the environment has an influence on the model. Okay, so some very basic things to work with SolidWorks Visualize, and no expertise of any sort is required to work with SolidWorks Visualize. So let us start with the first step of importing the model. So what you can import with into Visualize. So as designers keep designing the model, your products with SolidWorks, you can import. So in SolidWorks, what we do is we create animations, we created appearances, we created a lot of cameras, and so on. So you can import these settings directly into Visualize. So first thing is you have to take care of importing. And then the next thing is you have part grouping. So how are you going to group your parts? So when you say grouping, so grouping is good for selection, grouping is good for applying materials, and so on. So having your appearances, so you can, having your grouping is very important with Visualize. So here you can group your parts with different, based on different different situations. Like you can flatten them, you can appear them, you can create them by appearance, by layers, and so on. So Visualize can import around 26 plus different CAD file formats. So not necessarily only with SolidWorks. So your other CAD formats also can be used with SolidWorks Visualize. So just an idea of the user interface of SolidWorks Visualize. So as you see here, this is how the SolidWorks Visualize interface is. So I have on the top, I have my main toolbar. I have my viewport, and then at the below I have my heads-up display. So here I have my palette on the right side. So this is nothing but this is a palette which displays the scene tree or the selection area. So you can do your selections in the scene tree, and then you have whatever you select, the respective settings are displayed here in the right side below corner. And on the top I have the option for selecting my models. So this is from the palette, selecting my models, applying the appearances, and then I have my environments, and then I have the camera settings, and then my file libraries. So this is what you have to learn about your user interface. So let's see how we import the model into SolidWorks Visualize. So like I told you, I have a model with SolidWorks. So this is an espresso maker. So I've designed this with SolidWorks, and you see here I have a lot of lights, cameras, and I've applied materials onto my components here. Also, you can also import your exploded views for creating animations. So here I have, with this model, I also have exploded views. So okay, let me collapse this. Okay, so exploded views. And now what I do is I go to SolidWorks Visualize, and I start by creating a new project. So I say new. So once I create a new project, SolidWorks opens a viewport for me to import a model and start with applying my materials and moving on. Okay, so let me import my model. So in this case, okay, I've saved my model as an espresso maker. So this is a SolidWorks assembly. And as I told you, here you can import around 26 plus different types of CAD formats. So selecting my espresso assembly, let me open my assembly. So I open it, and here I have the option, what do I want to import from SolidWorks? So I can check whatever I need, like geometry, appearances, animations, cameras, scenes, and decals. So this can be imported into Visualize. Also, I have on the right side, I have the part grouping. So as I told you, the part grouping is very important for grouping your components. So here I could use the automatic option. I can use the flatten. I can use by appearances, group by appearances, by layers. And you see a lot of other options available to group your components. And then I have an option where I can snap it to the floor. So how are you going to place the model into your viewport? So I snap it to the floor, and here I have an option to real-time monitor my or sync with SolidWorks. So I can have a sync on with SolidWorks and Visualize. So having done this, I've imported my model into Visualize. So it is that easy as importing your model. So okay, so let us see the next step of painting the model. So having imported my CAD model into Visualize, now the second step, I'm going to apply my paint. So just an idea of what is the user interface of the materials panel. So you have materials on the local drive. That is, when you install Visualize, you have materials available on the local, and also you have materials available on the cloud, a vast library of materials. Okay, so this is your appearance panel. and you can see the materials on the right side, displayed on the right side. And one tip I want to give you here is you can use the copy appearance by using the shift left mouse button. So suppose I want to copy an appearance of an existing material which is already in Visualize. It's not needed that you drag it and drop it. You can use the shift left mouse button and place your mouse on the component you want to paste it, and use the shift right mouse button. Okay, let us see this in action of how to apply my materials onto my model. So here I have my model imported. So we will see how we could use this to apply materials. So like I told you, in my palettes, I have my model tab. So as you can see here, when I select the top thing, I have the whole model has been selected, and settings related to this model is been displayed. And also I have something called as the root. So when I get into the tree, you can see all my components very neatly displayed in the tree. So as I hover so here we have the preview mode. So on real time, I can get real time previews, fast previews, and accurate. So this is a kind of live rendering on the screen, which we have with different passes. So I have the selection tool where I can select my model, I can select my part, and also I can select based on my grouping, and then I have also my appearances. So these are some of the tools which are highlighted here is for your use. So as I keep moving, now I want to group some parts. So having imported my model, let me start grouping some parts. So I select the components here, and then I say add them to a group. So you can see SolidWorks Visualize has created a group for me. I can name my group. So what I selected here is screws. So these tiny screws. So I say all screws. So I create a group. So this helps me for my selection and applying materials. So, okay, I think some screws I have been left out, which is not in the group. So you see, as I keep hovering my cursor onto the parts, you can see the previews have been displayed. So I have some addition screws here. So using your normal control button, you can keep picking your screws. So it's just as easy as select your screws, drag them, and drop them into the group. So organizing and reorganizing groups are very easy with Visualize. So having created my group, so now I told you about the selection tool. So I go to the group selection tool in this case, and I just want to show you how effective it is while doing a selection on a group. So I select my group selection tool and pick let me pick this screw. I pick the screw, and you see the whole group has been highlighted. So this is how you can organize your components in Visualize. So grouping them is one important aspect of working with Visualize. So now let me go to the Appearance tab, having seen this. So you can see I have some materials. It's just as easy as just dragging and dropping them onto your components. So I just drag some material. Okay, let me drag the satin finish and drop it onto the side plate. So you see, as I drag and drop my materials, SolidWorks Visualize gives me the real-time rendering here. So with my Appearance tab, let me see. You have other options here also where you can sort them by categories. You can change the size of your icons. So in this case, let me slightly change the size of the icons. And I go to the file library, and here I have materials from the local drive as well as the cloud. I choose appearances here, and let me just have fun by dragging and dropping some of the materials to just have a feel of how my product will look. So in this case, I have appeared the dark chrome. Let me go back and let me pick something from plastics. So I'm just trying to give an emotional look to my model. So let me just pick some. I'm just trying to play with it. Okay, so let me pick some. So I have basic ceramic. So I can drag this material, drop it. So see a combination of how the black will look and so on. So I go to metals, and here I have the option. Okay, I prefer to apply the chrome. So let me drag the chrome and drop the chrome onto the product. So it's just as easy as dragging and dropping. So, okay, I have a good look. So for the feeder here, I have applying a chrome with a texture. So to just get a feel of how it will look with a texture map. So I drag this, I drop it, but I need my feeder to be in black. So here I have the option where I can select the color, and to suit your, you can pick a color, you can choose a color, keeping the textures by retaining the textures. So I get a beautiful bump texture applied onto my component. So I apply the same bump texture as the feeder onto the top cover, and you can see here I change the color, and also the texture is a bit, I want to control the density of the bumps. So here you can see different channels, which is called specular, alpha, and the bump, and then I have my texture mapping. So having my component selected, I want to change the density of the bumps. So here I can change them individually. I can scale them by the X, my Y scale, and also I can change it, let me change the Y very closely to meet 0.869. So just trying to give a look. So I'm just showing you the options of how you can manage your textures. So individually I can change my scales, and also I have the option where I can globally update these XY scales. So uniform scaling. So ununiform scaling and uniform scaling. Okay, so having changed my scale, how do I reset it back to its original way it was? So I use fit to part, and you can see that it was reset to how it was when it was applied. And now let me go to the scale all, and I'm trying to match this, okay, slightly match this to the look of the feeder, the front cover. So, okay, slightly to this. So just by the looks, I'm just trying to match my scale. So I'm just showing you how you apply materials and how you make use of the settings, change colors, change your textures, your density, your bump maps, and so on. Okay, so I have the glass or the container of the liquid. So the container of the liquid can be selected. So let me start applying some appearances. Now this time I'm going to use the cloud. So I have the local and the cloud. So in the cloud, I have glass materials available here. So here you see in the cloud, there are some materials which have been ticked with green. So you can see some materials which are ticked with green means these materials have been downloaded and available on locals, where you can just drag them and drop them onto your component. So any material you want to download from the cloud is just as easy as double clicking on the material, and it is, and visualize will make it available for you on local. So, okay, let me give some dark look to this. So I use the dark tinted material here. Okay. Let me give some material onto the, okay, let me apply some material onto the, use the shift mouse button. So in this case, I'm going to copy material. So like I told you, we use the shift left mouse button. So I use the shift left mouse button, I copy the material, and I'm going to apply it onto the tray. So you see, I can just shift right mouse button, and the material has been pasted onto the component you desire it. Okay, so having this drain tray, not only you can apply materials from your existing library. In this case, I actually had wanted to apply a material from my from the net. Okay, see, I have a product on the net. I was just thinking of how I could copy materials and apply them onto my product within SolidWorks. So with this, you have a very good option where you can use the color picker. So when you say highlight color, I have an option here. This is the color picker where you can choose colors from other images and you can put them into your model. So in this case, okay, here I have an image which I got from the internet. So I want to choose one of the color from the net. Okay, so these are just images which are on the net. So I use the color picker. And okay, you see here, I have this visualize appearance here. As I keep hovering my cursor, my color picker onto this image, so visualize captures the color and applies it into my model. So applying material from images are also a very good advantage with SolidWorks Visualize. So what I showed you here was different ways of how to apply materials and have a look on real-time renderings in your viewport. So having seen how to apply materials, now let's see how we could create scenes. So in this, what we see here in the scene, I have a sample of a scene. So we have an environment. So I've just placed this in a kind of a hall in an environment, which is a demo place. And then I have a table. I have a backplate. So we call the image at the back is a backplate. Here I've applied a backplate and I have applied a decal. So decals are nothing but images which you can apply onto your models. So they can be logos or any kind of an image which you want to represent into your on your model. And then this is called the environment. Okay, so let's see this in action. Remember one thing here: the lighting on your model should the lighting on your model should be influenced by the environment. Okay, so having applied my appearances with SolidWorks Visualize, I have the environment tab. So I go to the environment tab, and here I have the plates, back plates. So I go to my file libraries, I choose plates, and it's just as easy as dragging the scene into your viewport. So I just drag my scene. So let me see for a suitable scene into how will it have a look or an influence with my product. So you can have different scenes where you can drag them, drop them into your viewport, and let me slightly position or orient your component to match this scene. So in this case, okay, let me use this map, and you can see here SolidWorks Visualize creates the scene. Now there was a table which I had suppressed in my model. I just want to show you the integration of how the model works with Visualize. So we had a real-time file monitoring on when I imported this model. So as you can see here, I unsuppress my table and I save it with SolidWorks. So once you save it, you go to Visualize, and now Visualize asks you, do you want to sync this, or do you want this changes have been done to the model, or do you want it to apply it with Visualize? And I say yes, and you can see my table has been set here with SolidWorks Visualize. So any components, any assemblies, what you suppress with SolidWorks has a real-time monitor where you can switch them on and switch them off. So based on your choice, you can switch them on, switch them off. So here, having visualized having switched on my table, let me slightly orient this so that with the reference of the grid, the floor lines. And now let me apply some material to my table. So I go to the library, and then I select wood. So I have a category of wood. So drag my material and drop it into your component. So you can see here, this table also has a lot of textures. So using the same concept of the bump map creation, you can resize these textures or scale these textures. Okay, so you can see here, now I want to apply a decal. So I select the decal, and decals are nothing but they are images. So in this case, I have an image, I think in textures. Okay, so let me go to textures, and then I have an image here, okay, which is a PNG file. So I select this PNG file, drag it, and drop it onto the face of my component on my model. So you have different helpers here, like these arrows, and you can do your scaling, your X, Y, Z, your overall scalings. And also you have the rings around where you can, which helps you to rotate your logos. So whatever decals you put into the model, you can easily rotate them, position them, and these are some of the helpers which are available with SolidWorks Visualize. Okay, so slightly let me try positioning this to have a good look on my product. Right, okay, I think, yeah, this is good. Okay, so having done this, okay, let me position my model in the environment. So okay, I'm just taking the help of the floor lines to position my model. just to suit the environment. Using your normal keys like holding your control left mouse button, shift left mouse button, as you do with SolidWorks, you can navigate or you can orient your model with Visualize. So, okay, let me slightly orient this. Right. So, yeah, I feel this is okay. So let's go with this. Okay. Now, I can go to environment. So you can see here. Now, as I told you, environments, I can change the brightness of my environment. So environments reflect the or have influence on the model, environment lightings. So here I have other options where I can change the rotation of the lighting, the brightness, increase the brightness, reduce the brightness. You can see the reflection or the lighting on the table, how they change. Okay. And it's as easy as you can just drag your environment and put them into your viewport. So you can see based on different selection of environments, you can see the viewport updates. So you can see different effects of the environment on the model. Okay, so you have a lot of environments where you can choose based on your scene. Okay, so I have a lot of environments where I can click them and I have the influence on my model. Right, so what we saw here is we saw how we could paint your model, how you could apply materials, and then how to apply the decals and how to set the environment. Now, having done this, let's see how we could set the camera. So having captured all this, I need to capture views related to my model so that they have their interest of focus. So here with cameras, you have to remember something called as filters. So we have camera filters which suits the environments, and then you have we have around 6 filters here. So like I shown you, we let us see how we could capture some images from the camera. So here I have the camera tab. So let's start with okay, let me go to view. So here, let me, we have the camera panel. So let me show the camera panel. And here you have the filter. So just double clicking on the filter gives the lighting influence based on the camera filter onto the model. So you can see here, I can just pick as a double click. I need something which is very close to this environment. So, okay, so once you select it, you can change the brightness. You can change the perspective. So something to suit something very close to this environment. So I can start, let me, okay, slightly increase the brightness. Let me change the environment. Let me change the environment and okay. So I'm just trying to suit something or set something based on the environment. So also I have the filters. I have a filter tab. So once I select my camera option, I have the option where I can enable post processing here. So you can see here, having applied the filters, I have the option where I can also change the color of how the how it's going to influence on my model. So you can see here, I'm just playing around with this to get an look which is very slightly close, and where you can change your hue, saturation, and your volume, your value. Sorry, value. Okay. So in this case, let me slightly lighten it. So I'm just lightening it, and this is in line with the environment. So I'm trying to match the environment. Okay, so let me do a slight adjustment to this somewhere here. Okay. So I'm trying to just match this. Okay, change the hue and so on. So what you see here is I'm trying to make it more kind of realistic, and this rendering on the screen is being automatically done in real time. But here I have set my render mode, my preview mode to fast. Okay. So having done this, let us see some other options here. Okay, let me slightly change this. Okay. Let us see some other options here related to the camera. So you have the blooms and so on. So I leave it to you so you can explore all these options. So you see the exposure. So the lighting exposure on the model. So this is one important thing where you can change the lighting exposure on the model. So how does it reflect on the model? Then I have the option where I can go for what you say, orienting my model. So here I have the longitude, the latitude. So a precise positioning, orientation of what you can do by using the longitude, latitude. I have also the twist, where I can twist my orientation of the model. So for positioning your model, this will be quite useful. So these options are quite useful with the on the transform tab of the camera. So I'm just trying to bring it to match the reality. So I think I've used some more. I'm taking some time here. Okay. So I'm just trying to do my best. So I'm just trying to show you the options. See, when you twist it, you can see how the twist acts on the vertical axis. Okay. So okay, let me arrange it very close to it. So I'm just trying to give you a very good realistic kind of an image, the best from my side. Okay. So here we saw how we could set the camera. So I just ran through different options of how you can set the twist, longitude, latitude, orientations, and how you could apply some camera filters and change the colors based on the environments. So having set our cameras, now what we are going to do is we are going to render these images. So let's see how we render these real-time images. Okay. So with render, you have a combination of different, we call it render output passes. Render output passes is nothing but you have different options, like you have the beauty, the gloss. So these are some kind of the filters which have been applied to the rendering image. So in this case, I will just show you here. I have actually rendered some of the models with using different options of the render passes. So here you have the beauty option, the gloss, specular. So as we see here, the flow shadows, it's only rendering the flow shadow, and a combination of all this creates the actual image for you. So selecting your options with your passes are very important, the render passes. So when we say passes is nothing but it is something which happens on real time. So you have different images or different frames which are actually generating the image. So the increase in number of passes will actually reduce the noise of your image. So let's see this in action. So here I'm going to render my image. So I have my output tools. So with my output tools, I have various options. So I have a screenshot. I can create images, animations. So here, this is the animation tab. So you can see here, I have the snapshot. So with my snapshot, okay, let me select something. Okay, I have the animation. I can do my turntables here. What you can see here, I can also do a sun study. So as the sun moves, how is the reflection of the sun, or how is the effect of the lighting on my model? So in this case, I'm going to select the render option. So I give a name to my file. So once I name my file, I have the path for the output folder. I can also select the image format. So I've selected here the JPEG format. So a lot of other formats also available for you to get your rendered images in. Okay. Then I have my render mode. So what is the render mode I'm going to use? So in this case, I'm going to use I'm just going to do a render. Okay. So I select render. And then I have the output passes. Like I told you, it's a kind of a filter, or a kind of filter which has been applied to your image. So here, let me select a combination of these output passes, the render quality. So I will select beauty and incandescence, and I need the flow shadows. So having selected this, okay, let me start my render. So I start my render, and here you can see the render being calculated. So I have the live render. It shows me the percentage of render which has been taking place. I have the remaining time. I can pause the render, I can save it at any stage, and also I can cancel my render. So I told you about passes. So you can see here it is pass 7. So you have different passes based on the options you select, and you can see I can see my resolution of the image. So what is the output resolution? So you can see here now it is rendering the beauty pass. So having applying the beauty pass, so I have selected 3 options here, which is the beauty, incandescence. So it completes each pass, and then at the last stage, by merging these passes, it gives me the final rendered image. Okay, so you can see the time remaining. It shows me around 9 minutes. For having to use Visualize, it's suggested that you have a good graphics, certified graphics card for your machine to get good, fast, real-time rendered images. Okay, so having my flow shadow also rendered. So 3 options from the rendered passes have been rendered, and at last I get my image. So here I have the rendered image completed, and it displays it shows me the path where the image has been stored. So what I can do here is I can click this link, and it takes me to where my image has been stored. So you can see here a lot of renderings I have, which I've created before, and this is the image. Yeah, so this is my image, the rendered image. So you can see you can see how the lighting effects are. You can see the realistic shadows. You can see all the glossiness and so on. Okay, so this is how you can render your image. So in this, I have shown you how to quickly render your image. Okay, so what we had seen before, like importing the model, painting the model, applying scenes, cameras, and renders. Now I'm going to give you another tip where you have a mode which is called the toggle easy mode with SolidWorks Visualize. So with the toggle easy mode, this will help you to create the whole process at one stretch. Okay, so let's see this how we could apply the toggle easy mode. So I have go to my view tab, and then I switch on the toggle easy mode. So in this case, what I have here is I can import my model. So in this case, I have already imported the model. So then I paint, I apply my scenes, so set my cameras, and then I can render. So since I've already imported my model, I'm not going to import the model again. So I click my paint, and you see the previous steps, what I showed you, you have to just follow the similar kind of steps. It is just as easy as dragging your material and putting them onto your components here, just pasting them onto or placing them onto your components. So I'm just dragging some material here. So this is the basic red which I'm using here. So having applied my materials, so let me slightly modify this. So I'm just trying to modify it. I'm just showing you how the ease it is to work with the toggle easy mode. So having applied my materials, let me go to the, okay, let me close this and let me move to the scenes. So you can see here, I have a number of scenes which have been displayed. So this palette, as I click the required option, the palette is available, and I can just double click, and the scenes are changed in the viewport. So selecting different scenes is quite easy. Just double click your scenes. Okay, so let me set some camera. So as I told you in the previous slides, you have camera filters. So you can select the required camera filter you need. And the similar options are available here where you can select different filters. And you can, as I keep changing the filters, you can see the different effects on the model it has. So changing the brightness, changing my perspective, and so on. Okay, so you can see the other cameras which I've applied with SolidWorks. So they are also available in this list, in the camera list. So having done this, let me start rendering my model. So the similar thing what we saw with the, like I told you, the modes which have been applied. So this is called the noise. So what you see, these dots here are a refinement of your model. So the number of passes you have, the more refinement or the more accuracy, the more detailed view you get with your rendered image. So it is passing the beauty option, the beauty rendered pass. So once this is done, the same similar screen here. So it passes to the incandescence, and then it goes to the shadows. So once my shadows is done, merging all this produces a very good image, rendered image for me. Okay, so this is the toggle easy mode, and as you can see here, you have the path where you can click on the link and you can view your files. Okay, we have another option with SolidWorks Visualize Professional. Now what we saw is a combination of Visualize Standard and a Visualize Professional. I will be showing you the product line. So we have something called as configuration. So what if I want to have different configurations, different views, different orientations with Visualize? So we have this all configuration option. As you can see here, the output mode and all configurations. So let us see how we can create configurations with SolidWorks Visualize. I believe you all know configurations, how we use it with SolidWorks. So I say add configuration into this tab, and here I give a name to my configuration. So I want to view this with different combinations of paints. Okay, so I give my name to this configuration, and it's just easy as going to the appearance tab. Now this configuration is active, and I drag the material and drop them onto this. So now let me drag something very close to this. So I wanted to have this in something brown. Okay, this is okay. So you can see there is a configuration which has been assigned as a brown side plate. So you can see here I have two configurations listed. Let me add the third configuration. So you have the add button. So in this case, I'm going to have a black top. And this is going to have a different camera position. So I use the black top and I use the camera view. So I can drag materials, drop them onto that. So appearances are being applied. So let me make this black. Okay. So I've once done this. You can see here different camera positions. So here I'm going to select a different camera view, and I'm slightly going to position this. So I will position this. So I want a view from the back. So let me position this, and you can see here I'll select the base configuration, a configuration with side brown plates and the back view. Now once done this, it's just easy to go. So I select the all configurations option. In this case, my render out passes are going to be the beauty and flow shadow. So having selected this, let me render my image. So SolidWorks runs all these rendered passes for you. And as I told you, in combination of this, now you can see the configurations being rendered in this case. So having finished my first configuration, it is moved on to the second and then the third. So it produces images at one stretch, and once it is done, I have a link where I can go and view the outputs of my configurations. So if you have a requirement to create various combinations of your products, the look of your products, realistic images, the option is available with SolidWorks Professional. Okay. Like I told you, the product line. So here we have the SolidWorks Visualize Standard, which has the options for sorry, I think I did not switch off this music. So we have SolidWorks Visualize Standard, and then we have SolidWorks Visualize Professional. So with SolidWorks Visualize Standard, what can I do is the question. So you can do still images, real-time rendered quality still images, and then you can do with SolidWorks Visualize Professional, you can do additional. It has additional capabilities where you can do interior panoramas, a 360 table spin, and then you have you can integrate this with you can use it with your exterior VR, And then you have the feature animations where you can create real-time animations on how your lighting position changes. Okay, and also you have visualize boost. So SolidWorks visualize boost is which comes with every visualize professional who the customers who are in active subscription. So this is available with, so which can boost, which can help you may have quicker renderings, faster renderings. It's an option which is available with subscription customers of Visualize Professional. Okay, SolidWorks Visualize Standard is included with your professional license and premium license. So active subscriptions customers can make use of SolidWorks Visualize Standard for who are owning professional and premium licenses. Okay, now a question. Okay, having seen all this, now there's a question like, how do I learn something more about Visualize? Okay, I believe this webinar helped you, or this demonstration helped you to get started with Visualize. So here you have, we have the Visualize Cloud. You can see the link here. I have the visualize.solidworks.com Visualize Cloud, where you can go here and you have a lot of Visualize tutorials. You have a lot of filters, Visualize tutorials, so you can have additional information on this in this link. Okay, so you can see here a lot of additional information, and also you have the Visualize tutorials. So you can make use of this Visualize tutorials, which is available with SolidWorks, mysolidworks.com. So mysolidworks.com has a lot of tutorials which helps users to gain knowledge into products, in-depth knowledge, and these are very neatly organized, or very clearly organized, and it moves you through step by step on creating and getting your information on your products. We have the Visualize forum where you can share knowledge, gain knowledge through this. You can discuss, and you have the Visualize blogs, which you can get more information on this. And we have the Visualize help. So you have a lot of options where you can get started with learning SolidWorks Visualize and move through your journey with SolidWorks Visualize. Okay, I believe this demonstration, this webinar has been helpful, and for you to get started with Visualize. As I told you, it is fast, it is fun, and it is easy. So I would like to take some question and answers from you. Do you have any queries? You can let me know.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. I think it was very informative session.
Thank you, Motas. Thank you so much.
Side.
Any questions, please? So I think there are no questions as of now, but no issues. We do not leave you here. So we are with you, and you can also write to me, write to us at, this is my email ID, rcelestine@atmata.ae, and we have a global support email ID, which is support@atmata.ae. Please do feel free to write to us for any queries, and we will support you with your journey with Visualize. Thank you so much for attending this webinar, and I hope to see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all of you, have a great day. Thank you. Goodbye.